I think the stories of survival, and not only survival of the war, but just survival of what they've lived through is really remarkable, that people can manage to persevere and to retain their identity through what these people have survived. The oldest people that we interview were born, we interviewed one person who was born in, I guess, 1918, and this isn't his memory, but what he knows of his childhood is that his whole family was killed during a pogrom in 1919, and he has an injury on his arm that he can show, where a bullet ricocheted off his arm when his mother was killed with him in his mother's arms. And he was about 15 months old at the time. And a local priest then went to this mass grave where his family had been shot and found him as a 15-month-old baby, injured in his dead mother's arms, and took him into an orphanage. And then he was eventually brought back to the town that he was from, brought up with his grandfather. So this is the earliest people. They lived through that. Then they lived through the Civil War over the next couple of years, and then collectivization in the late 1920s, then the famine in the early 1930s in 32, 33, and then right when the famine ends, then there's the Great Terror and all of the mass arrests of the late 30s and closure of synagogues of the 30s. And then right when they get over that, right when Soviet power is actually establishing itself, there's electrification and they're getting out of that poverty, then the war begins. And they live through the war, and then after the war there's anti-Semitism, and then economic stagnation and poverty. And it's a lot to live through. So I find those stories in particular to be meaningful stories, just to show what people are able to endure, live through.